All right, so we're back with another episode of Let's Play Sierra Games. And this time we're going to talk about Police Quest 3, The Kindred. So go ahead and break out a crayon, make a circle around the like button, and then proceed to finish off the pentagram. And then click on that button to make sure that the pentagram is there. And then while you're there, also throw your handcuffs on the subscribe button and make sure that it gets in the back of the cop car with you and subscribe to our videos. So go ahead and click like and subscribe and also, of course, share because sharing is caring. All right, enough of that. We're going to go ahead and start talking about Police Quest 3. We see here at the intro that Sonny has been promoted to a sergeant. But looks like his first day he's going to have to still help out with the traffic division because I guess the traffic division always needs help. So let me tell you, I'm going to give you a slight spoiler alert. I did everything I think I did right in order to what happens to Sunny's significant other, who is Marie. If you've watched my Police Quest 1 or Police Quest 2 videos, you would know that at the end of 2, Sunny proposes to Marie and they go ahead and get married. And so in Police Quest 3, they are a married couple. It's been, I think Jim All says it's been like 3 years, and they're still on that honeymoon high. But for day one, we're going to start off as a cop, and let me tell you, I remember fondly that Police Quest 3 was my favorite of the series. And turns out I was almost starting to think I was wrong, because as I was playing Police Quest 3, I could not stand day one, which is where we're going to start off in this game is day one. So first you're going to go ahead and go over here, you talk to the captain, and then you come over here, talk to these guys, and there's a subpoena to talk to Morales. And you have to say, hey, meet me in your office, or meet me in my office, and we're going to talk about you verbally abusing one of the people that you supposedly gave a ticket to. So you're going to go over here, and let me tell you another spoiler alert. She will become a significant part of the story because she ends up becoming your new partner. And much like Keith, who was your previous partner in Police Quest 2, she's not all that useful. She always says she has to go do something and go check something, but she never comes back with any information. If it wasn't for you, this game would never get past day one. So you talk to her, and she says, what she does, and you have to decide which one you're going to go for. Then you go back here and you say, oh, there's a requisition card to get a computer. So what you'll do from here is you're going to go ahead and hit the elevator, head up to floor 3. And if you come up here before you have that card, he'll say, hey, if you don't have your card, you're out of sync, man. Give me the requisition form. And then you give it to him, and he lays a card on the table. All right, and then you do get a slight clue here where while you're standing there, dispatch calls, and one of the officers has a tracker on a thing, and the guy says, they need to bring these trackers back. So you can kind of tell that that's going to come into play later. They're already kind of foreshadowing something, and so that eventually you're going to need a tracker. So what you're going to want to do is make sure you go over here, go into this closet, and there's batteries and flares here. Just grab those. Nothing else useful in any of those other boxes. Also make sure you go into the right restroom and not the women's restroom, as that could be game changing for you in a bad way. And if you are wondering where the code is for Sunny's locker, since this is a completely point and click game, there is 0 typing in this game. It is in the manual. So if you've got this game and you're playing on a 386, check your Police Quest 2 manual, your Police Quest 3 manual. And if you got this on GOG, there is a manual on GOG that you can open as a PDF and it'll be there. Unlike Police Quest 2, where it's on the back of a card that you have to open up your wallet and look at the back of this card and see this whole thing, that is not the case here. And that was part of my issue with Police Quest 3. Because it is all point and click, there are aspects of the game that were established in Police Quest 1 and 2 that if you didn't do, something happened. So, for example, if you got into your cop car and just drove away, you just end up with a flat tire. And it ends the game in Police Quest 3, they did away with that. You just get in your cop car and drive. Don't worry about checking your car anymore. And then also, if you arrest someone, don't worry about reading them, their Miranda rights. You don't need to do that anymore. You just arrest them and throw them in the back of the car. So that is one of the things that I forgot and struggled with trying to read this dude his rights, because you get a call saying, hey, there's been a disturbance over in Aspen Falls. Go investigate. There's a family concern that there is a man ranting and raving, and he sure is. You get there and he's talking about the space aliens. He rips off your badge and chucks it in the water and then dives in the water himself. So what you do is you search his clothes and you get his ID and his keys. Now, you would think the right thing to do would be, now that you have his ID, go back to your cop car, run it through, see if he has a history of mental illness or whatever. Now, instead, being the good cop that Sonny Bonds is, he takes the dude's keys and throws it into the lake, which pisses the guy off. And what you have to do is time it correctly and have the nightstick ready to knock him out. So once again, he grabs the badge, throws it in, jumps in the water. So no matter what, if you talk to him, he just tells you must leave now or you're toast. So again, search his clothes. Take his keys. And I will say, so if you do leave this area after you've talked to him, he will disappear, and I'll say, oh, I wonder if the Bothans got to him. So I don't know what really happens if you just leave and don't arrest this guy. I assume it has some kind of impact in the game. But after you time it properly, do you put him in the back seat? No, because that's too safe. Why would you put him in the back seat? This car doesn't even have a back seat. So you just put him in the front seat with you. That's perfectly safe. He's a crazy man who was ranting and raving about aliens who attacked you physically twice, and you put him in the front seat with you. Because that makes a lot of sense. And I will say, if you are driving in Police Quest 3 and you can't stand it, that little green scanner at the very top, press that red button, and it'll show you a map as to kind of where you're driving, and you can get a better idea visually where you're at. You're still going to need the map that comes with Police Quest 3 to know where the police station is and stuff like that, or you just drive up and down until you see the sign for it. But naturally, having the actual physical map is the easier way to go. What I did, because my games are currently in the garage, I have them all installed on an external hard drive. So getting them out of the garage just for the sake of the manual was just not easy. I've purchased these games multiple times. When they've come out as collections and stuff like that, I've purchased them. So I do have PDFs, and I've also purchased them while they were on GOG. So I have the PDFs from there. So that's what I was using. I was originally just using my second monitor to show the PDF of the map, but I ended up actually just drawing it. Like, I traced it on a piece of paper because that was easier, just to have the piece of paper open and next to me and just deal with it that way, so I can quickly see and not worry about this PDF open on the other screen. So, and one of the things I did not like about Police Quest 3 and the way it drives is it's not included in this footage because there are 3 other attempts of me playing Police Quest 3 that literally resulted in me driving around Aspen Falls, where this guy was at, for an hour. Literally driving in a circle for an hour because I was looking for a exit or a kind of a turn in for Aspen Falls, because I would see a orange sign saying Aspen Falls. So I'd think, okay, coming up is an exit to turn into this park. No, you just park on the side of the street. So some locations will have a place to turn in and park. For example, the police station. When you turn into the police station, there's actually a turn to turn into the police station. But for other places, like later on, you'll go to a coroner. Later on, you'll go to the courthouse. Later on, you'll go to like a bar. None of these have turnouts. None. So, all right. So Now, this is what happens here. So there's a slow driver. You pull up next to him and force him to pull over. Now, because of what happens in the ending of when I played, I'll say I beat Police Quest 3 this time around, but I did not get the good ending. Now, I don't want to spoil what that means, but I didn't get the good ending, so I thought I had done everything. Like the checklist that I could remember of what you had to do to get the good ending had happened. So I wasn't very clear as to why I got the ending that I did. So I started searching for Police Quest 3 bugs. And I found an interesting bug on the Steam forums that was not related to the bug that I had encountered, or the bug I think I encountered. But there is supposedly a bug that if you do not pull this guy over, you never get the courthouse unlocked because you never technically have to go to the courthouse. And with this results at in day 6 of this game, when you have to go to another house and you need a warrant, you're not able to pull into the courthouse because you have not unlocked the courthouse because you haven't done this. Now, there's someone on the Sierra Help forums, not Bob Smith is the username. He says that when he played, he did not arrest this guy, but he got a court summons to appear in front of this guy, which he thought was confusing as to why he did when he did not pull the guy over. So it's weird that on the Steam forum there was a number of people reporting this issue, but not Bob Smith said, "Hey, I didn't see that happen." So as far as I can tell, I got the weird ending that I did. I did find someone else on the Steam forum who says they did everything that was right to get the good ending, and they didn't get the good ending. They got the ending that I did. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if somewhere I actually did miss something, like maybe there was a day I did not go see what I needed to go see. Not sure. So here we've pulled over someone who was speeding. Now, one of the things that I think is really silly is if you walk straight out from the cop car and walk to the driver's side, you'll get run over every single time. So you have to walk around to the passenger side and then approach the driver's side from the front. I have never, and I've been pulled over for speeding once or twice, I have never in my life had an officer walk around to the driver's side around the front of my car where someone could just potentially just run them over and come up to the driver's side that way. Every time I have ever been pulled over, the officer has approached me from the driver's side. So I don't know if that is a law that has changed since when Police Quest 3 was made. But if you try it in Police Quest 3, you're going to get run over every single time with a note that says don't approach from the driver's side, which is still weird because when you walk to the passenger side around the front, you are still coming up towards the driver's side of the car. So it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it. So right there was a car that sped by me and I tried to catch up to it and it says, it was going too fast and it got away. Now that is the only thing I can think that may somehow be tied that says, hey, you know what? You didn't see this one event and this is why you got the bad ending. And I know from my previous 3 times of playing, like I said, this is my third take on this. It's a guy that is speeding in a black car, and when you pull him over, you find out that he's actually a cop and he speeds away again after you clear him. So I don't know if that's why I got the bad ending, because I didn't actually catch up to him to pull him over, but that's a really stupid thing because that has nothing to actually do with Marie's health. Like I did everything Marie needed. So anyway, I kind of maybe gave a spoiler right there without doing it. Didn't mean to. Sorry. Anyway, so you pull this guy over because he's weaving all over the road, and you do a number of tests on him, and you discover he is intoxicated. So you take him into the car, and we're going to go ahead and take him in. Oh, and damn it, I should add something that threw me off in one of the other 3 playthroughs is when you write a ticket for someone, it asks for the time, and the time has to be correct, or else your case gets thrown out pretty much. And they say, you know what, I can prove I wasn't there at that time. So every time when Sonny initially gets out of the car on day 1, it shows a time briefly in the upper left-hand corner. Make note of that time, because that's the time you're going to put in the ticket. And it doesn't matter if you spent 10 minutes real time talking to this guy, doing whatever, making him go through a DUI test, whatever. You have to put the time that you actually got out of the car. Now, why there is no clock in the car, or why Sunny doesn't have a watch to actually give an accurate time as to when the ticket is being provided, beats the hell out of me. I just thought it was ridiculous. So anyway, you take this guy in and you make him do the breathalyzer, and he rings in at a 0.15, which is it depends on when this was made, but technically almost twice, almost 3 times the legal limit of being drunk. So all the bookum codes are in the book, so you're going to have to need the book for that, or if you're just watching this, you can just write down what the codes are. And after you do that, it goes to a cutscene where 2 guys approach Marie, grab her, and proceed to stab her. And while you're there, it says, Sunny Bonds, please call dispatch at once. Now, technically, the officers don't know it is who it is. And so, neither do you. Obviously, you as a player saw, oh, that was Marie. But you technically don't know as Sunny. So you go ahead and go to your desk, and you're going to go ahead and contact dispatch because the phone is at your desk. And they tell you to go to Oak Tree Mall. Now, one of the things you're going to notice is Marie is clutching onto something. When I first looked, I just thought it was her purse, so I didn't really take notice to it. But then I thought, wait a minute, maybe I was supposed to grab that. Like maybe something is in her purse, or maybe it's not her purse that she's clutching onto, because you kind of see, looks like her purse is laying on her, but there's also something gold in her hand, which looks like it would just be the thing for the purse. So if you look, go ahead and look. Yep, it is something else. We're going to go ahead and grab it, because we're going to use that as evidence. And then you get in the ambulance, and then you go with her. And so her neurosurgeon comes in and says she sustained several stab wounds. Currently, she's alive, but not really responsive to anything. So it is important that you come by and talk to her, do whatever you can to help her and make her feel alive. So what you'll do is you want to talk to her, and then also you can just click the hand on her, which will also kiss her. So the meter thing said it was, the IV said it was 0.15, and I remember there was something up with the IV being off, and so I checked, and the board's not there yet, so I know I didn't miss that. And so a reporter shows up, and he's like, "Hey, I heard someone's dead, huh?" And Sonny reacts poorly because it is his wife, and so Sonny says, "Hey, it was my wife, my bad." And the guy gives a card, and you're going to use that card later when you need help finding witnesses. So what you're going to have to do is, if you use your flashlight, it says your batteries are dead. This is why we had to get the batteries out of the closet earlier. And you're going to walk around, and what you really want to do is just walk right by the car, which takes me a little bit to figure out because I'm just walking around blindly. But as you walk by, it's harder if he's walking from the front to the back to see it. But when he walks from back, there's a slight glisten of something there on the ground. So when you look at it, it's got a serial number on it, and there's nothing else there. So once you've gotten that, you're good to go ahead and get back in the car, and we're going to find out some more about that serial number. So what you're going to do on the following day, make sure you grab that music box, because you're going to want to give that, as it says, it was like her favorite thing to listen to. So you're going to take the music box, and next time you go to the hospital, you'll drop that off. And then so day 2, you're no longer part of traffic division. You're now back to what you're supposed to be. And the captain or lieutenant, can't remember what he is, he gives you a couple case numbers to look into that might be related. And you find out that Pat, who you just pretty much scorned and interviewed about her bad behavior is now your new partner. So that's not going to make it super awkward. And see the officer that sits behind Sunny with the blue shirt. It's good to talk to him because he actually provides clues. He's the one who just now said, "Hey, you know what? I was just reading in here how the cops used the newspaper to post an ad about a crime and get, say, hey, we're looking for any witnesses to come forward." So Sonny does the same thing in the case of his wife, looking for anyone who's come forward towards the attack on his wife or any of the cases he's currently working on. And then we're going to go ahead and put in the case numbers that we were given, and we're going to see some similarities in the type of weapon used and the type of punctures. It seems to be a 6 by 1.5. Seems to be a dagger, and seeing some pentagrams happening, which is why earlier I talked about draw a circle around the like button, do the pentagram, blah. I was making reference to what we're going to end up seeing in Police. So on this part, I was actually confused as to where to deposit evidence because this guy collects evidence, but he specifically collects evidence when it comes to people who you've arrested, not so much evidence that has been found on the ground. So all my best efforts of like take this goddamn medallion just are in vain. This guy doesn't care. And clearly I'm oblivious to the door I just walked by because that's actually, spoiler alert, that's the room you want to go into to book evidence. So you can, and excuse me, how powerful is this database that the police have that you can look up just any random serial number. And when you look up the serial number on that medallion, you find out that it was an award from World War II, and it is associated to another case with a victim named Samuel Britt, who ironically was stabbed by a 6-inch by 1.5 inch instrument, believed to be a dagger, who also had a pentagram on his torso. All of it is connected. Now, I will say, despite how much I complained about Keith in Police Quest 2, I much prefer him over Pat, just because she's shady. So now I've found the right room. You have to make sure you book the right case associated with the evidence you're providing, naturally. And after you do that, you call it a day and automatically just arrive at the hospital, which is nice. Like, you don't have to try to drive at the hospital. So we're on day 2, and what do? I buy Maria Rose. And so you say, hey, I'm visiting my wife. She's in the hospital. She says, how about a rose? So you just grab your wallet and give her $10. You don't give her $10. You give her whatever, $2.50. But you only have $10 to your name, which is really weird because later on, I'll probably talk about it when it happens. It mentions that I'm low on money. Now, Sonny in Police Quest, was it 1 or 2? Either 1 or 2, he's driving around in a Corvette. And suddenly, like, he's got $10 and it's saying you're low on money, but whatever. Anyway, you can see that the thing is still at 15. There's still no order on the bed. You talk to her, kiss her, you put the music box, which you picked up at the beginning of the day. Life is good. We've done everything we can for Marie today. We've given her a rose. We've talked to her. We've kissed her. Life's good, right? So see, everything looks good. And see how the IV drip says point. Oh yeah, and sorry, give her the rose, which we just bought. Almost left without it. Now we kiss her and say goodbye. For now. But apparently for me, forever. Can I go ahead and spoil it? For me, Marie doesn't come out of the coma. Yep, so I beat the game, but she never wakes up out of the coma. And there are 2 endings to this game where she wakes up from the coma if you do everything right, and she does it. And I did everything that I can remember that is correct. And after getting that ending, I even went back through and looked at a couple walkthroughs for the Marie checklist, and all of it was done. So I am not sure what happened, which is why I assumed I hit some kind of bug. It may be related to something I do later. And clearly, I forgot to get my gun out of the thing because I have the key. But yeah, so unfortunately for me, spoiler alert, Marie does not wake up from her coma, even though the day before, when I give her her necklace, she opens up her eyes and she looks awake. She's smiling. Apparently, she slips back into a coma. So I'm fairly certain I hit a bug when that happened, but whatever. So anyway, you got something in your little memo thing, and we got to head over to 325 South 2nd Street. So we got to hit. And since you're back to being homicide, you don't have to drive the old black and white. By the way, don't take that stuff out of your car because when you try to go back in, it's going to tell you to put it back in. So, and there's your good old partner, Pat. So day 2, we have kissed Marie, we've talked to her, and we've given her the rose, and we've given her the music box, right? So far, that's everything. Anyway, I digress. I was so annoyed when I got that ending. So now there is a stop sign throughout the game, usually when you reach either the top street or the bottom street of the map, and it'll scold you for not stopping. And I think you can do it a number of times before the game will actually quit on you. But to bypass it, if you wanted, all you have to do is when you're the street cop, throw on your siren, and you can get by stop signs, no problem. Or if you're in this car, I didn't realize it till a little bit later, you just have Pat hit the red button, and then you can drive with a siren on. So this is the hit you get from when you put in the ad in the paper after you talk to the newspaper guy that there was a witness to the crime. And she's like, yeah, you know what? I'll go to the police station, tell you what I saw. You tell her, we have one of those fancy programs where it'll show someone's face. Do you think you could identify it that way? And she's like, sure. And before I go, though, you have to take care of my stuff. So taking care of her stuff includes basically just handcuffing her cart to the pipes. And I mean, I don't know how that makes it safe. You'd think that if anyone wanted anything out of her cart, they would just take it out of the top of her cart and not just take off with her whole cart. But maybe she was attached to that cart specifically and not so much the items contained within. Who knows? Maybe it's one of those carts that doesn't have like the little squeaky wheel, doesn't turn to the left, on its own. Who knows? So in order to get her to talk, though, she says, I am really hungry. Like, I'm about to pass out. And there happens to be a lunch bag behind you. So you give her the lunch and then she eats and she says, okay, yeah. Now I can help you out. So with this, what you're going to want to do is keep adjusting these until she says, that looks okay. So if she says that looks sinister, even though she says the guy looks like evil and you get her to say that looks sinister, that's not it. You want her to say that that's okay. And she'll say things like, the eyes are too far to the left, so you can move them left or right, or up and down. So if she says, the nose needs to be a little higher, you can actually move the nose upward. So essentially, keep going through all these different things. And the thing is, so if you move, for example, if you move her eyebrows up and down, or move his eyebrows up and down, she won't tell you if that looks better. You have to click next and then go back to it for her to say, oh yeah, that looks good, or that looks okay. So you can see we got the beard right because she said that looks okay. So we just have to fix everything else. And you'll see she just said that looks okay. And essentially you have to just do this until you got all the pieces right of her saying that's okay. And then you're going to want to do the search composite master. So now pretty much everything is set except for the nose. So once you do a search, you get one and you pick the guy, and he's convicted of two things. No wants or warrants. He's associated with cult stuff and crack cocaine. So all around, just not a good guy. So after that, you return her back, and she's super stoked that her cart is still there, but she wanders off without it. But before you leave, make sure you get your cuffs, because if you don't, you're going to be in a world of trouble later. And your partner's like, hey, can you drive me to the mall? You're like, oh, whatever. And it makes note that you notice that she took her purse. Now, in Police Quest 3, for a guy that is supposed to be a cop, Sonny does a number of things that are fairly questionable. Um, I'll talk more about it later, but it's something to do with her and her purse and some other stuff. I mean, granted, his partner is pretty shady, but he doesn't really know for certain other than she's pretty vulgar. So we're on day 4 now. So now that I'm thinking about it, I can't remember in day 3 if I went to go see Marie because after the mall, it just automatically drives you home. And I never made a stop beforehand to go there. So I'm wondering if that was it because I can't remember if day 3 I did go see her. So to explain what's going on now, you got a summons about the slow driver, and you have to make a court appearance. So what you have to do is you have to go into your cop car and open the glove compartment and get the calibration that shows like the different stops you've done to prove that you arrested him for going slow, and that's what he was monitored as. So you have to drive to the courthouse, and the courthouse is, I believe, one of the places that doesn't have a runway. You just seemingly park on the side of the street. So it's so weird how some of the buildings have places to park and some of them you just park on the street. This it should have probably been more consistent. I get it for like residential and stuff like that, but like when you're going to the courthouse or the coroner or things like that, there should be like a little driveway to indicate that you're pulling into, similar to the police station. Because as you can see, I've passed them both by. So, so we arrive at the courthouse, and this is what I was talking about earlier, where someone said they never pulled that guy over. So they never got a court summons, so the courthouse never unlocks. Like you can't talk to the judge or anything like that, which I think if that's the case, that's like such a horrible bug because Sonny has clearly gone to the courthouse several times probably in his career. I'm trying to even remember. I think he went there in Police Quest 2. He went to the courthouse to get something, to go undercover and all that stuff. So he would know where the courthouse is and be able to stop here. Like the fact that you didn't stop a slow driver and thus basically dead ending you in day 6 when you need a warrant for the crack house seems like really, really such bad programming. And again, a user on the Sierra Help forum says, hey, that can't be true because I didn't bust him and I was still able to get to the courthouse later when I needed it for the warrant. But several people on that Steams forum are reporting the same exact issue of we didn't pull that guy over and now we can't get the warrant. So who knows? Anyway, you provide the evidence and you talk when questioned by the lawyers, and pretty much he is found guilty. And I do think it's weird. Like, I don't know, to me, this is supposed to be like a ese kind of guy, you know, like, hey, what's up, man? Like, you're looks to be like a Mexican American Latino thug. But to me, the guy that they show just looks like a white guy wearing sunglasses and a bandana and a flannel. So I don't know, just weird. And this time, she actually gets out of the car and leaves her purse there. And this is where I'm talking about like things are kind of shady. Like, yeah, she cussed at someone, but Sunny just grabbed her keys, went to a key maker and said, "Hey, make me a copy of her keys." Like, that is pretty suspect. Like at this point, because I mean, other than her making frequent calls and stuff like that, there's no real reason to suspect anything. Anyway, since the key shop was open, I decided to walk over into the army shop, and he's like, hey, you want a career? And actually, he'll come into play later. But make sure you have returned her keys before she gets back to the car, because it's already too late at this point. I'm going to need to restore. Because she's already back in the car, and she's going to notice that her keys are not there. So once again, she says, hey, can you take me to the mall? Go grab the key. Run over here. Pay, click the key, put it on him. He makes a copy, and then you pay him for the keys. Get back in the car before Pat comes in, put the keys back. And then I went back over here, just talked to this army guy again, even though, as I said, at the time I didn't know, but he'll come into play later as to why there's a army recruitment there. But in the meantime, there's actually technically nothing to do here. And he says, if you ever reconsider, we can give you a career in the army. And then now there is a 187, which, if you know anything about police, that means there has been a murder or death. And it's in an alleyway, so we're going to go ahead and drive to that alley. So you arrive in the alley, and you can see there is a body in the dumpster. And once again, Pat just wanders off to go take pictures. Gather the stuff out of the evidence thing, because you're going to need some of it. I just always grab it all, because I never know what I'm going to need. So there's a dude, he got blood on his shirt. So if you look at his nails, you don't use that scraper thing. What you're going to want to use is actually the toothpick thing. And using a toothpick, you scrape it and automatically put it in the bag. Click your hand icon on the shirt, and there is a pentagram. Click on his pants, and you'll get his ID as Andrew Dent. Examine the car, you'll notice that there is a gold smash against it that looks recent. Use the scraper to gather some evidence. And there's actually nothing else to really do here. So you can actually go ahead and put the stuff back in the trunk. And click to get in the car when you're done. And you try to talk to Marie, see if she collected anything, and she just makes a bunch of random comments. So she's completely useless. As I said, if it wasn't for Sunny, nothing would happen in this game. I don't understand why they didn't at least make your partners somewhat useful in the game. Like, hey, Sunny, I found this over here, and gives it to you to go book it or whatever. Just something to show that they're actually doing something. So you create a new file for Andrew Dent, even though there is a continue, there isn't a second page yet until the evidence comes back. So you can see it's all pretty much the same, the 6 by 1.5 dagger type weapon, and the doctor wants to see us, so there. But first, I forgot, turn in the evidence that we've gathered from the alleyway. So day 4, we're now headed for the hospital now after we've done everything. So I'm also wondering if this is what triggered the possible bug, because even though I bought her flowers the previous day, um, not to share too much, but my own wife has actually been in the hospital lately, and why wouldn't you buy them fresh flowers the following day? Just buy roses every day. So I don't know if that because I bought a rose on the second day, because every walkthrough says just do it once, but none of them say if you do it a second time it's going to trigger a bug. And it even says you gently place a fresh rose. And if you look, it says 0.15 on the IV, music box is there, but this time the hospital record thing is there. So you can look at it and it says, hey, it's supposed to be 0.005. So you can't adjust it yourself. So what you have to do is look at Marie and then press the little emergency red button up there. And a nurse will eventually show up and say, do you need something? And then you talk about the IV. She gets the doctor questions it, looks at the chart and was like, oh, damn, you're right. So it's like 4 days that she's potentially had the improper dosage of this IV going because this is day 4. But like I said, there's nothing you can actually do to it prior to day 4 because that's the only time that the chart is there to actually be visible and look at. So you drop your partner off and then go home. We're on day 5, which means we're almost done with the game. Police Quest 3 is only 6 days long. Well, the game itself is 6 days of passing it. I don't actually play for 6 days. I actually played for 5 hours though. Most of the Police Quest games seem to be averaging about 5 hours. Several of the Sierra games, like after Leash Suit Larry 1, it was a pretty long play. After Space Quest 3 or Space Quest 3 and beyond, I think we're all pretty long plays. So you really get your money. You get your money's worth out of these games if you played them. A lot of this, even in Police Quest 3, was muscle memory because I'd played Police Quest 3 a number of times before in the past. I'm old enough that I purchased all of these Sierra games when they first came out. And so what you're going to do now is you're going to take a look at the evidence of what we found of where people have been killed, and you're going to do like a little find out like is there a pattern? And if you look, well, it's an upside down pentagram. So this certainly makes sense with what we found in all the victims, which is what makes it easy to draw. If you've got 4 of those locations, you can pretty much figure out what the 5th one is. And so you call dispatch and say, hey, this is what I found out. Like, I think I know what's going down. And what you'll do is, since you have a copy of Marie's keys and they are at training right now, when you look at that port, it says all female officers will be doing training. There is a piece of paper with a 386 on there. And if you remember, what's the only thing that has 3 digits in this game that you used? Spoiler alert, it's your locker combination. So now we have Marie's locker combination, but going into a woman's locker room can get you in trouble. So we're going to go ahead and see the shrink, and basically he has Pat's file on his desk. You'll want to click it now and find out that he thinks something's up with Pat. Like, she's got some issues. So how Pat has gotten as far as she has within the police division, no idea. She should have probably been put on a desk job a long time ago. So you go ahead and talk to this guy, and he's like, what do you want? I'm busy. There's some stuff there. And we're going to need a tracker because we kind of got an idea about this gold car. And like clicking everywhere, like those are file servers that are behind him. So it's not there. And it's weird. Like I clicked on his desk instead of the cabinet. Like I clicked the cabinet and it says there's nothing there but magazines. But when I clicked on his desk, it actually opened what looks to be the cabinet that's next to the desk. So I don't know if like the mouse cursor is off in terms of when they made this game, but that was just weird. So you get the tracker, and now we have that tracker, and that's going to be useful because you get a notification saying, hey, you know what? There's something over here on the 200 block that you need to take a look at. So we're going to head there next. And the reason for the tracker is this green city menu that I have here is actually used for that tracker. Like if you have a tracker on a car, you can see where it is. But I used it because it helped me visualize the city, and I could look at my map and understand, oh, I'm about to approach 3rd or Peach Street, or, like Oak is 3 streets down, whatever the case might be. So clearly this is the car. Like if you look, it's got that golden color. You're going to want to get the kit and basically get a sample from it. So we're at the old Nugget. So it's really weird because like the sample stuff is in the trunk, but you can't even see your trunk. You just have to click on the very, very back of the car and then take the scraper, scrape it, transfer into a bag, put the tracker on the car, and for sure save, because there is a good chance you can die here, which you'll see. I think I died twice and then accidentally did something too soon. And I don't know if asking questions is the right idea because I think it garners attention. And you look at that guy and he shoots you. So once you recognize that that's actually the guy that was from the witnesses, the homeless woman's witness composite, now you know you're on the right track, right? But timing it is everything, which is why I highly recommend saving the game. Because you can either wait too long or not long enough. And if you shoot too soon, it says you shot the suspect. But great. Now we'll never know anything because you shot him in the head and killed him. So you can't shoot too soon. But what you want to do is be able to shoot and scare him. So again, save here when you walk in or even right before you go in. And just try to time the gun correctly. So look at the guy, look at him again, make that eye contact. He goes up here. And then as soon as he draws his gun, fire. And he takes off in his car. But don't worry, you've got the tracer on it, so you'll be able to trace him. If you don't have the tracer on him, well, that's going to go poorly for you. So you can see he's on the tracer. He gets on the freeway and he's taking off, and suddenly his blip stops. So does that mean he pulled over and got out? No. What you're about to see is a major car accident. And it looks like he didn't survive. He's laying there looking pretty dead. I forgot to say. So make sure you have your flares and make sure you set them up correctly. You're going to just want to go all the way up to the top of the screen and set up the flares, and that'll direct traffic. And a cop will show up to say he'll direct traffic to stops. And then you're going to want to go in here and start looking at him. Make sure you grab the keys. Ambulance will show up. You can talk to him. And you say he has no ID on him, but we're going to need a positive ID to get that information. And the individual driving the ambulance says, yep, I can get that for you. So with his key, you're going to want to open up the trunk, and what comes out is crack cocaine, or maybe it's just cocaine, one of the two. Anyway, your partner Marie says, you know what, I'll take care of it. So you're like, okay, whatever. Even though you have a file on her that she may have destroyed some evidence based on what you found out about her. So something is definitely up with her and destroying evidence. So I don't know why Sonny would be like, yeah, no, you go ahead and take care of the drugs and cocaine and stuff like that. But I guess he doesn't want to like raise that flag just yet. So whatever the case might be. So you have something in your thing and it says Dr. Wagner wants to see you at the coroner's office. So need to head over to the coroner's office. But first, turn in the evidence for the gold that we scraped off the car from the golden nugget. And then we'll head for the coroner. Oh, sorry, I think we're headed for the hospital based on what I looked at the save game. Sorry. Anyway, while I'm here, kiss her, love her, everything looks good. Still 0.005. Nothing to see here. And we head home. So we're now on day 6, which is the actual final day in Police Quest 3, which means we're almost done with this video. and soon you will be free of my voice if you've made it this far into the video. So we're going to head up to the elevator, go over to our office, see what's up. Coroner called, he's got information on the fatal crash, and your partner should be back from her testing pretty soon. So now we know all the females are testing today with their, I believe it was a gun range. So you have the ability to go and do something, and you can see something here in the bathroom area has changed. There's now a janitor, and you'll see I'll try to just walk in knowing that there's no females currently at the restroom. And he'll say, hey, that's like the women's restroom. So there you go. And so you're going to go into the men's restroom. So if you look, there's actually some toilet paper there, which I can't remember if that's always been there. But what you do is you take it, you grab it and throw it in the toilet, and it floods the toilet, and you come out, talk to him, and now the only person who can stop you from going into the women's restroom is him. So you talk to him, and he goes in. Now you can go in here, and now you just have to find Pat's locker. And again, we have the combo based off that piece of paper, and inside there is crack cocaine. So you make note of it in your notebook, and that's all you need to know. Like, once again, she's probably taken that evidence from the trunk of the golden car. So I went in here, don't need more batteries, but we did need more flares. Spoiler alert, actually you don't. I only grabbed them because I thought I might need them because I used them for the accident. Wasn't sure if I was going to need them later on. You don't. So if you don't want to grab the flares, you don't have to grab the flares. And then we are going to take off. And come to the hospital. Just talk to her and kiss her. All right, arrive at the corner with a weird spinning head syndrome, which is probably why here, as you can see, he spins around in circles without a head. And look inside, you get a ring, a necklace, and a satanic book, which was part of what was found on the guy's body. And here it locks up on me, but it takes me a moment to realize that there's nothing I can do. It never actually comes out of this, so I'm actually going to have to restore and do this all again. Which I think ends up working out because I go here first to the bathroom, do what I need to do in the guy's bathroom, find the evidence in Pat's office. So when I go upstairs and talk to the lieutenant or captain, I'm sorry, I can't remember his position, Sonny actually says, hey, I think something's up with my partner. Like, I have evidence that she is taking evidence found at a crime scene. So actually, I think it works better that you come in here and do this before actually going up to your office. So I'm going to grab flares again. Again, I couldn't remember at this point if I'd needed them. Spoiler alert, you don't. So we're going to go ahead and go up here, go back to our office. And when you talk to him, he says, Captain, I have reason to believe that something is up with Pat. And he says, you know what? I'll inform internal affairs and we'll get something going. Which, in hindsight, now that I think about it, comes into play at the very end of the game when you're in a shootout and Pat gets involved and something happens. And if you do not have internal affairs there, you're as good as dead. And there is a portion here where you can see it briefly where I said I forgot to record. So you see a couple of save games there that I hadn't saved in this recording. And that is because I launched Police Quest 3 and just started playing without actually recording the footage first. So I actually had to backtrack and redo this part. I'd actually played past this already and went back to actually go through and do these parts again because I did not record them. So anyway, as I said, do the bathroom thing first, get the evidence, talk to the captain, and then you'll have that to speak to the captain about internal affairs. And after you look at a few bodies, he shows up, and I don't even think it's the bodies. I think it's just a matter of time. And he says, "Hey, here's something I found. It's an old picture of your promotion and a pentagram, and here's his address." So he gives you his address, so we know we need to go there as well. And he says, "Hey, there's a manila envelope." Me being me, I went through and opened all of these to see if there's anything to be found, any clues, stuff like that. And some of them are victims that you know. And some of them are just jokes about John Doe's names. So I'll go ahead and open this again. There's a cult ring, a cult book, and Marie's necklace. So we decide to go to the hospital, and they don't capitalize the M in Marie. And what we're going to do is we're going to give Marie her necklace. And see, look, her eyes are open. She's smiling for the first time. She's like alive. And you tell her we're really close to nailing them. Like everything seems great. Like her heartbeat increased on the rating thing. Everything is good. She should fully recover from this. But spoiler alert, she does not. Anyway, so we get news of another call, and we're going to make our way there now. And I will say, I should have looked at the map, but there's a part where it says, like 500 whatever Peach Street or whatever the address was. And so I went to 5th Street thinking everything on 5th Street will be like the 500 blocks. That's not the case. If you look at the map, it says this is where the 500, 600 blocks are and stuff like that. So when you arrive, if you get there too soon, to try to talk to the fire chief, he says back up. Fire's still going. You back up, and then you go talk to him again. He says, "All right, fire's out. Go ahead and go in there." And there's going to be two things you're going to pick up in here. You're going to go inside the first room and see that it appears like something is there. It looks like a photo album because what's sticking out is a photo. And when you look, it says Jesse and Michael, and they look very similar. And you realize they're brothers. So when you look at the photo, notice on the pole it says 522 blank palm, or it kind of looks like 522 and then ALM is clearly visible. But if you look, there is the curve of the P next to his elbow. So now you have an address of 522 Palm Street. So we know we're going to go there next. You go into the other room, which I was already talking about something else. I was talking about the book, but there's a pentagram there with blood. And so you take the scraper and scrape some of the blood and hair samples to take and turn that in, which I'm not sure why, because this is day 6, and I don't think you ever get any evidence from it. And then Marie says, "Hey, can you take me to the mall?" Which is fine because you're going to go into the army thing and you're going to show him that picture of Jesse and Michael and say, first show him your badge and say, "I'm an officer." And then he goes, "Oh, how can I help you, officer?" And then show him the picture. And he says, "Oh, yeah, let me look it up." Because you've got his name is Michael Baines. You know where he's from. You got an address, and he prints it out. And when you read it, this dude has some psychological problems. And it especially notes that after the death of his brother, Jesse, like he goes off the deep end and he is basically kicked off the force. So now we know what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a crazy guy, which, spoiler alert, he's nowhere near as problematic as Jesse is. Jesse proves to be a much bigger problem. So anyway, the DNA stuff that we got from the pentagram, you turn it in. Again, I'm not sure why, because day 6 is technically the last day of the game. So it's not like you get any evidence. So what we're going to do is we're going to take what we found out about Michael, go talk to the shrink, get his input, and he says, yeah, this dude is the kind of slit his mother's throat kind of guy, and undoubtedly like a paranoid schizophrenic or whatever he said, but basically said he suffers undoubtedly from some form of schizophrenia. So we know we're dealing with a potentially very, very dangerous individual. And I think this is a glitch because he says that the coroner has something for me, but we've already gotten that information from the coroner. unless there was something else to get from the corner. Maybe that is what triggered the Marie thing. But as far as I know, I've already got everything I need from the corner. So what we're going to do now is we're going to head for 522 Palm. When you arrive, it's a pretty run-down house, but it has a cute little dog. So you look around, there's not really much. The house looks pretty deprecated. If you knock on the door, you see movement in the window, but no one comes to the door. And you can knock forever, no one will ever come to the door. There's nothing to do here. You can't pet the dog, which was a bummer. I wanted to pet the dog. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the courthouse. Now, this is where I was totally confused and thought, why can't I have a CB in my car? Why can I not call in for a warrant? Or why can't I tell Pat to call in for a warrant? Like what we do in Police Quest 2. The worst part of Police Quest 2 was me trying to get that warrant. The CB and all this other information in your car, like what looks to be a clock above your ticket reader, all of that, pointless. The only two things in here that are worth looking at is the key ignition, the thing where you put in the person's ID to print a ticket, and the little map thing. Nothing else is at all relevant. At all. So you can't just call it in. You have to, again, go to the courthouse and say, hey, you know what? I went there with the warrant. I know someone's in the door, but they're not coming to the door. And she's like, and so you need like essentially a battering ram to batter the door. And she's like, well, oh, wait. So I should back it up. So we went to the house first, and now we're here for the warrant. Sorry. Yeah, we're just here for the warrant first. So we're going to go back and forth here in a moment. So we're going to drive back to that house because now I have a warrant. Spoiler alert, since I was just talking about it, the warrant's going to be no good. No one actually comes to the door. You see movement just like you did before. So we're going to end up coming back to the courthouse. So my bad. Sorry for talking about that a little too soon and still talking about it, not shutting up about it. Anyway, I'll be quiet until we get to that house. So you knock on the door, try to do the warrant thing. Nothing you do. Can't click on it. Can't click it on the window. And your partner goes in the back, which is also suspect, which I get it. You get people who run if someone's at the front door, but she could also be there to warn people, right? Because if you're already having your suspicions about her, something's probably up. So now we've tried the warrant. Can I talk about it again? We've tried the warrant, and the warrant, no good. They're not coming to the door. So we're gonna go back to the courthouse and say, hey, can I get like a backup team with like a battering ram to essentially knock this door down? I am 100% certain there are individuals in this house. They're dangerous, and we need to find out what's going on in this house. And I have complete confidence that they are suspects that need to be apprehended. So back to the courthouse, and let's do that now. And she almost foreshadows it when you get the warrant, because she says, if you have any issues with the warrant, come back and let me know. Why couldn't we just say, you know what? If the warrant doesn't work, can I just have officers there anyway? Just so I don't have to drive back and forth and give these potential criminals who have seen me come knocking on their door with a warrant an opportunity to run and flee and leave the scene of their home. You know what I mean? So whatever. Just seems like police work at its worst is what's going down. But it seems like Sunny makes a few questionable choices as a cop, like putting a deranged man in the front seat with him who has physically attacked him twice already. So, whatever. Let's just keep making bad choices, Sunny. So now we're back, even though we drove here at over 100 miles an hour. These cops beat us here with the battering ram. And so you talk to him and says, hey, just give us a sign. And you say, all right, let me get in position by the door. Bam, the door goes down. And make sure you pull your gun out because someone jumps out and you shoot him. Blam, he's dead. So I thought this was going to be a full-on shootout, but here comes Michael Baines and like, don't shoot me, bro. Don't shoot me. So you don't shoot him and you arrest him, and the cop takes him away. So it seems like a weird ending, but nothing here is changing. So start clicking around. Maybe we need to search the body. Nothing there. Oh, you search the count and you find a remote control. Well, let's take a look at that. Oh, channel 1. Oh, that's something. Channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, channel 5. Go all the way to channel 8. And what the hell? Did a door just open in a fireplace? So make sure you have your gun ready because someone's about to pop out again. And it looks like you found where they make the crack cocaine. You know, walk around, walk around, walk around. Yep. Oh, hey, there's a guy. Blam! Shot him. And your partner shows up holding her purse. And she says, oh, let me check him. And then she pulls her gun. But then Eternal Fair shows up and he shoots her in the head. Blam! A lot of blam, blam, blam. Blam! Guns firing everywhere. All right. But you've done it. You solved the murder case. You also found the cult that was behind it all, that was selling their crack. Now all that's left to do is fight the paperwork. You go, and what? She remains a vegetable, leaving you with a difficult choice. What the f? I did everything. Like I said, I may have missed it on day 3, not going to see her. But that's all I can think. So I restored it. I wanted to try something a little bit different, take a look around. And yeah, nope, same thing. All right, so blah, 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 blah. Guns firing. Blah, blah, blah. And same crappy ending. So there is another ending where she wakes up and when Sunny goes in there, life is great. But no, somehow I missed something. And I didn't get the happy ending, even though, like I said, the last time we saw her, she was awake. Her eyes were open. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video and me ranting and raving about Police Quest 3, both the good and the bad about the game, click like, subscribe, and by all means, please share. Post it on social media and tell other people about this channel. I would love to get more subscribers. Thanks. Bye.